Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soul View. I'm so glad that you are joining us here today. And, this is a very special show. And, of course, we have Shivani and Lorelei here, but we also have Faris because the topic is suicide. And this is something that he knows a lot about because, as he said to me many times, he's been trying to get out of here ever since he's been here on this earth plane. And a lot of people feel that way, but for different reasons. So we're going to talk about that today and look at the topic of suicide from a soul view. Now, of course, this topic has been part of the news, which is what we do. We look at all of the topics in the news from a soul perspective. And the soul's perspective of this is I think we each have a little different view on that. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. But what brought it into the news, of course, a couple of years ago, in 2014, when Robin Williams committed suicide after he found out just how sick he was and he just didn't want to go through it. And then Anthony Bourdain and also Kate Spade, both of them committed suicide just a week or so ago. And so that puts it in the news. Since then, the social media has just blown up. I couldn't believe how many people came out talking about their stories, and I think it's wonderful. I think people are ready to talk about it, no longer a taboo subject. And in fact, we got many stories from our listeners, and I thank all of you for your stories. Now, I'd like to invite you in the chat, whether this is the chat right now during the live show on Facebook, on Zoom, or if you're joining us later on Facebook or on our YouTube channel, please share your story, and then we'll do a follow-up call even about this, because I have a feeling it's going to be more than one show. Now, before we get into our topic today, I'd like to just have Lorelei come on and talk about our cosmic weather. Lorelei?
Yes, and this is such an exciting day and time right now because we're in a new moon. The new moon just occurred not even about 4 hours ago. New moons are the time to plant the seeds of what you want to grow in your life, what your heart desires. And, we're all farmers, whether we've ever farmed anything on the physical level or not, but at a new moon, we are farming. And if you've prepared the soil in your life over the last week, cleared it, weeded it, let go of what didn't work anymore, then you're clear about what you want to plant. Now, what just occurred not even an hour, a little over an hour ago, is that Venus, the planet of love, the planet of pleasure, the planet of what we value and what we appreciate, is now in Leo, is now in the creative, playful, childlike. So the kid in everyone is wanting to play, whether, when was the last time we all let our kids out? My kid's kind of always out, but that's because that's the way I'm wired. That's why I've been looking forward to this cycle. But my point is, this is really an opportunity to touch that place that's in all of us. Certainly some people may be more playful by nature, but the innocence of the child we all share. And that's essentially what Leo is about. It's the kid in all of us just craving attention, right? A 5-year-old, a 4-year-old craving attention of the loved ones in their life. I love me because I got up today. It's that energy. Now, childlike, childish, that's a choice. People with Leo energy or Leo energy can also bring out, yes, the need for attention, the need for the spotlight, and the childish side of us, where someone's really being just a bratty little kid, starting with ourselves. Mm-hmm. But the beauty is it's really an opportunity to rebirth love, warm-heartedness, openness, generosity of spirit. That's what Leo energy is about. So even with all that's going on, here's a window to really reconnect to whatever play was for you. No matter what your life was about, we all had those places, whether it was games, whether it was walks, whether it was swimming. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's an opportunity just to open your heart and be more connected. It's like we all get to create a new kingdom by sharing our heart's desires with each other.
Beautiful.
Hey,
And
And gentlemen. They're saying the same thing.
Shivani,
Mhm.
why don't you go ahead and read the quote? Now, we're not going to read a lot of quotes this week because we have a lot of stories, but she does have one that I want her to read.
Sure, that's from Shelley Shore Eagle. Bless you, Cindy. I completely love you ladies and think you're the purest souls and can feel how much you love, respect, and truly enjoy each other.
Mhm.
I smile when I listen to you. What a beautiful gift. Thank you so much, Shelley. It's true. We're having a good time.
We're having a good time, and we do have such a wonderful connection. And what I love about this, and the reason we're doing the Soul View, is because we have different perspectives. So we can give you a lot of different ways of looking at things. We don't want to totally agree every time, but we respect each other and we truly love each other. So I'm glad that's coming across.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to mention that that came in to us in support, we had several people ask us about the breast implant illness that I talked about a couple weeks ago. And my surgery is actually on Friday, everybody, and where I'm having an explant, and I'm looking forward to being 100% healthy again. And we've had people ask us for more information, and so we are going to do a special show on that. If you also want to attend, please let us know. We'll send out an email to everybody, and we haven't planned that yet because I don't know how I'm going to be. I'm great today, but surgery's Friday, so I don't know how fast I'll recover. Most people recover extraordinarily fast. Not only that, but they look healthier immediately, like within just the first hour after they have it done, they look healthier, and within a few days the inflammation in their body goes down, and they show before and afters, and the inflammation looks like weight loss, but it's actually inflammation. The before and afters are incredible. So anyways, you have more questions, please go ahead and post it in the chat, and we'll let everybody know when that special show is going to be. So Faris, for a moment, if you will, I don't know if you're doing this or not, Faris is manning the controls tonight. So if you want to switch it back and forth to gallery view and then speaker view throughout the show, that's kind of what, okay, great. I didn't know, we didn't talk about that beforehand. So anyways, I really want to dive into this topic because we've had so many people write in. And in fact, the stories, you know, there are so many stories that some of them are very sad. Some of them are very, very inspiring, but all of them really open our eyes to what people are experiencing right now. So before we read those stories, I just want Faris to talk a little bit about his experience with this walk through life and why, Faris, you've had this feeling of, as you said, wanting to go home.
Yeah, ever since I've been here, I've wanted to go home. And that's even before I knew there was some other place. I've been thinking, when you asked me to talk about this, I've been thinking constantly about what I was going to say and didn't come up with squat. So, so I'm just going to wing it just like the rest of my life. I hate to use the word suffered, but it works in the sentence. I have suffered from depression for as long as I can remember, at least since adolescence. And I have had suicidal ideations and actually come very, very, very close to suicide more times than I can count, usually with a firearm. I have been looking down the barrel of the pistol so many times and ready to pull the trigger, and one of two thoughts has always stopped me. One was, if you pull the trigger, you won't have time to change your mind. The bullet's real fast.
Yeah.
The other is, you're just going to have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And hell, I don't want to do it all over again. When I go home, I don't want to come back. I mean, it's not y'all. Please understand that. One of the psychologists that I dealt with for a while said something to me that has meant more than anything that any of the other psychiatrists, psychologists have said. He said, you know, I have to decide every morning when I get up that today I'm not going to kill myself. And this was the psychologist saying this to me. What people who are contemplating suicide, people who are in pain, don't realize they're not the only ones. And that's probably one of the biggest issues. Now, I mentioned pain. I am not anti-suicide. I know that sounds weird. I think a person has a right to commit suicide if they want to. I actually saw on some blog someone saying, don't call it commit suicide because you commit crimes. Call it completing suicide, but that doesn't sound right either. Suicide is a response to pain. If you know someone who's got cancer, who is in such pain that they cannot stand it, would you say, don't kill yourself? Don't go away? And psychic pain can be just as bad or even worse than physical pain.
And psychic pain, Faris, is really what a lot of the people that wrote in talked about, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's all. That's where the majority of suicides come from. I don't know that this is the venue for us to be talking about suicide prevention or anything like that. We want to talk about the soul view.
Right.
So I've heard so many different opinions about the soul view, and y'all can speak to this probably better than I can. I've heard people say, well, if you commit suicide, you're going to go to hell. You're going to go to purgatory, or you're going to reincarnate the next day, or whatever. I don't know about any of that, and I'd like to know what y'all think or have heard.
Shivani?
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, first of all, we probably all agree that we are spirit, we're energy. So it's not, we're not just a physical body. I also agree with you, Faris. I'm not anti-suicide because in the same way, I'm not I'm pro-euthanasia. I really believe if somebody is suffering so much and they really think it's the last resort, they just can't handle being here on the planet, then for me, that is a relief because they go back to all that is, back to love, back to being pain-free. I do understand that the people, of course, that are left behind or that are finding the body, it's very, very hard to take. And probably we have questions, what could I have done to prevent it? As you said, Faris, what did I do? What didn't I do? And I think, with any suicide, people come more into their hearts and probably also more into themselves. So for me, it's not a inverted commas bad thing. I mean, I feel for the person that is suffering so much, so they take their own life, and I think it's a right that we have.
Yeah, and you just brought up, you just made a liar out of me, Shivani.
Did I?
because it wasn't 2 questions, it was 3. And the third question was, what effect is it going to have on my loved ones?
Because they're the ones that suffer the most.
Yeah. And Mary just wrote into chat here, talking about her son and
son being overdosing. Yeah.
And the effect that it had on them.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Michelle said, yes, I found my sister's body after she committed suicide with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to her head. Oh my God. So sorry, Michelle.
It really does affect the people, the family, the loved ones around people, I think, more than it affects the person. But when you're in that kind of pain, and I do understand that pain. And by the way, as I look at the screen, I realize there's beds in back of me, and I better explain that because I didn't tell everybody I'm on the road. I have a speaking engagement tomorrow, and I'm in Kansas City, so Overland Park, actually. And so I'm in a hotel room, just to let everybody know. Anyway, back in the 70s, I was in a very abusive, physically abusive relationship. And I was a single parent. At the time, my family didn't want anything to do with me, not because I had a child, that I was pregnant before getting married or anything. It was because I was Catholic, and you don't get a divorce. And so I was not only thrown out of the church, but also out of my family. So I really felt worthless. And I took an overdose. I took everything I had in my medicine cabinet. And if I hadn't been found, I wouldn't be here now. And beforehand, I had such a peace about the decision. I put my daughter in a foster home. I gave away all of my things, wrote letters to everybody that I loved, and just was at total peace. And I don't think I've ever been that peaceful in my life. You know, and there was a calm, total calm, and the pain was gone. And what helped me to live afterwards, I was in a coma for about a week, and what helped me to live and thrive afterwards was actually my mother. When she was told what happened, she came to me and she said, "Cindy, I don't think you're saying you want to die. You're saying you want to live." And there's the difference. She was absolutely right. And for those who are in such pain and all we want to do is live, that's where the questions change. Don't you think? At least for me, because, you know, she was dead on. No pun intended there. You know, she was, sorry, but she was, because I wanted to live. I wanted to live pain free. And then the question changed for me. And that question became, how do I get away from the pain? How do I change this? And that led me to the path that I'm on now. And I'm so happy now. I don't have that. I haven't had that sense of wanting to leave here since then. That changed for me. So it depends on where that's coming from for you. For Faris, it sounds like Faris from long time depression and understanding that there's another, that there's the other side, the spiritual world, and missing that, and maybe coming in even into this world with a little of that memory and wanting to get back there. And I've known many people that say, I just want to get back to that glory. It's a glorious place to be. You know, where there's total happiness. That mine came from a different place, and a lot of people's come from a different place.
Get back to where get back to where I feel love and where I feel accepted, where I feel like I belong.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, bleh. reading on Facebook from different people that I know really well, different stories of contemplation or finding someone, and the door that it's opened for people to talk about suicide, which is such a difficult, because there's so many, you know, again, what could you have done? And there's shame and there's anger and there's, you know, all of that. But, you know, knowing that from my perspective as the astrologer in me, here's Jupiter, the planet of truth, in Scorpio, in let's talk about whatever we've stuffed into the closet, because that's where the power is. It's death and rebirth. Well, suicide obviously fits that. So to, you know, obviously people could talk at any point, you know, on Facebook or anywhere else about anything, but this has been a permission somehow. And so I believe that both Anthony and Kate stepped up. You know, they are healing angels for the rest of us. And on some level, from a soul view, their contract was, again, I'm not saying there weren't things going on in their personal lives, et cetera, but from a higher view, which is what we're talking about as well, from a soul view, it's like, okay, I'll go. I'll have the courage to do this. Because again, and the ripple effect of this, you know, that it's now been brought out into the open, much like in '83 when Jupiter was in Scorpio and AIDS came out. AIDS had been around forever, but all of a sudden it was all over the news. It was all over. Well, so yes, it's painful. I'm not minimizing that for a second. And my heart goes out to anyone who's had any, where suicide has been an influence in one's life. But again, from another perspective, for people now to feel a safety in being able to talk about it and being able to research and find resources, that to me, again, confirms that all things do work together for good.
Mm. And I also believe that there's probably not many people that at one stage have contemplated suicide. I think it's part of the human condition. You think?
I think that you're right. Yeah.
I know for myself, I've thought at different times in my life when stuff was painful, I go, if it's going to be this painful, why? I've never had a plan. I guess I always thought, well, if I did this, I'd take pills. I mean, that would be the easiest, you know, least aggressive way to do this. But yeah, going, wow, if it's going to be this painful. So again, I just think there's so much opportunity for support now and for understanding and for compassion, you know, that this has brought forth. So, I mean, to me, they each have, and it's interesting because they both have Capricorn energy. She was a Capricorn. He had a Capricorn moon. So on some level, the sacred responsibility was, again, okay, I'll do this. And it just, again, shows that depression, suicide knows no favorites, you know, whether we're male or female or young or old or, you know, rich or not, or, you know, healthy, conscious, unconscious. It's like it's across the board. So I think, again, it's going to be uniting people, actually.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up something interesting when you said it takes courage, because I remember in my 30s, I was really bummed about a very enmeshed, horrible, you know, non-loving relationship. And I remember driving on this country road and a truck came the opposite way. And the thought really was there, would be so easy if I just veered across to the right, you know, it's all over. And I didn't have the courage. And in the end, I was so pissed off with myself. And I said, it's like, okay, let it go. You know, you just haven't got the courage to do it. So you may as well really embrace life. But then I don't think I'm really depressed. You know, I think there can be a brain like that. From what I understand, depression can have many, many different issues, right? It's not that easy to heal. And I think a lot of people now have depression. Would you think so?
You know, it's a shame that depression is even called depression.
Yeah.
There should be another name for it, because everyone gets depressed. You know, depressed, sad.
Yeah.
But getting depressed doesn't mean you have depression.
Right.
Yeah. I think I get it.
And I didn't know about depression until I was in my 30s. Even though I was in depression from the time I was an adolescent.
Now we have a lot of comments.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
we
going to
do.
say we have a lot of comments, and I also want to say this just very quickly before we get to the comments, and that is, you know, I believe in soul contracts, and I believe that Anthony, Kate, and even Robin were here to bring this forward, to bring this out, that it was part of their soul contract to be the catalyst to create safety in talking about this.
Well, now
do you all agree?
you just brought up something that I wanted to ask anyway. And that is, we talk about celebrities having a soul contract when they commit suicide. What about people who are not celebrities?
Everyone. I mean, they would be a soul contract for the people around them that were influenced by it, you know, and you know, it wakes up something inside you, just like, everything scrolled down. We've got a lot of wonderful stories coming in here. Thank you for sharing. Carol said that she attempted suicide in her 20s in the midst of People's Park in Berkeley, and a feeling we would all kill ourselves off anyway, and I didn't want to watch it happen. That ended up being the start of my conscious spiritual path, and I feel exactly like you do, Carol. And
yeah, I think you can also say that everything is suicide, whether, you know, you die of old age or you die of a car crash, because I really believe that on a soul level, you've agreed.
Yeah. When it's time to go now, you know.
Yeah.
And I think people that hang on even when they want to go, like my dad, I think that's also a contract. He's still here to learn something more. And he's ready.
I wonder where free will comes in. I'm not sure about the contract personally. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But but the one thing, whether you believe in contracts or not, I mean, I do believe, I'm not sure whether you come into this world and you already have a contract that, hey, I'm going to kill myself at one stage. But not like you said before, we're happy to agree that we might disagree. But the one thing that I know for sure is we have free will, and nobody will punish you for exercising your free will.
I agree. And you just answered the question to the soul contract, which is, we come in with that contract and we also come in with free will, meaning we can change our name. Our change.
We can do that too. I did.
Sorry. Change our contract. We can decide not to do it. We can decide if we have a contract come in, and I was talking about this today with Cindy. When we come in with that soul contract, we can decide, okay, I'm coming in, I want to learn about forgiveness, and then somebody has to come in that we have to forgive. And they do something horrific in our life, or maybe not even horrific, maybe something more mild than that. You know, they were a bad mother or whatever. And we can choose to forgive them or not. That's our free will. We're learning about forgiveness, but it's our choice of whether or not we learned that lesson.
Yeah.
I think we just lost Lorelei for a moment.
She's having sound problems, so she dropped out and is coming back.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we have Sat. Can I read something?
Yes, please.
I had a friend years ago in the prime of her life, brilliant PhD university professor and long life yoga and meditation practitioner. She developed an illness that challenged her ability to energetically show up for life. Her father was a chemist and she was a researcher, and she tried everything for years to assist her healing. This vital woman ended up completely, finally bedridden and never said a word to anyone. We found out she gracefully designed her demise for weeks using a helium gas tank. She wrote all her friends and family letters and mailed them out and did what she could to let each one of us know her thoughts and feelings. She could not take being a complete invalid, and it was her belief and need and choice, even though she believed in the effects of reincarnation. She was a beautiful soul. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's part of, euthanasia. Like I'm totally pro euthanasia, especially if you have an illness and you're in pain.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And Lorelei, I can hear you. I can't chat back with you because it's not letting me do it for some reason. I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Now can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay, I'm back. No, I'm
And
not.
by the way, I
So
want to tell
something-
everybody, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, go ahead and put your comments there too. And I'm going to, in just a second, grab my iPad and see if I can get those, unless you can get them, Faris. Can anybody?
I'm not sure if I can or not. And
Okay, I'll grab my
take a while to get through all the comments today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't y'all start reading that, and I'm going to get the ones from Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, so Deb says, I do think people will punish others for exercising their free will. Maybe you meant after they are gone, but that is the part we here on Earth don't know about. Not quite sure how to read this, how to interpret it.
Okay, read that again.
I do think people will punish others for exercising their free will.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you meant after they're gone.
Okay,
But
that's a good point. The whole area around suicide has such stigma attached to it that even talking about contemplating suicide, well, you're crazy. Well, duh. And even the survivors are stigmatized.
Mm-hmm.
You're weak, right?
So yeah, I agree, Debbie. And it's not just around suicide. We often punish others for exercising their free will.
And the survivors, do you think it's because some people say, why didn't you know? Why didn't they couldn't stop it?
Sure. Well,
nobody knew.
And not only that, but they say that. Why didn't I know? Why didn't I stop it?
Mm-hmm.
Did he hate me?
Yeah.
Or did she hate me? And no, not necessarily. I mean, they may.
By the way, Cindy Weber, who I was having lunch with today, she actually knew Kate. She went to school with her.
Wow.
In fact, she brought her yearbook, and she's like, it's totally surprised by it.
And I think that's it. I think so often we go through life and we put on this mask, what other people expect us to be or to see about ourselves. But deep down, we are not courageous enough to maybe share what's happening. And plus, it is such a stigma. I've been on the phone with people and they were suicidal. And, in the end, I actually said, it's your free choice. I accept and love you for whatever you do. And just being given that choice, they felt better.
And Shivani, I interrupted your reading. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Okay. One of our listeners has discussed here how her family punished her. Thank you for all. That's Maureen. Thank all of you for having the courage to have a soulful conversation about this difficult topic. Like many things, we need to be willing to speak about difficult things. It is one way we can heal. And Michelle, I attended a couple of survivors of suicide meetings after finding my sister dead. They helped me a lot. I would have attended more, but they were 75 miles away. Yeah, and I think it's really, it's the heartbeat is for the people that are still here, dealing with that, dealing with the loss, the grief, what could I have done better? Missing them.
Yeah.
So other comments that we have, and by the way, did I see somebody say, thank Cindy, I'm glad you're still here? Did I see that? Oh, Michelle, thank you. I'm glad I'm still here too.
We're all glad she's still here.
This show would suck without her.
That's right.
I'd have to dress up like you.
I want to say that first.
No, that's too much stigma.
Okay. All right. You want to go ahead and...
Did Lorelei drop out again?
Yeah, Lorelei.
She's having some sound issues, I guess. So...
Karen wrote in to support. And hi, Karen. We haven't heard from you in a while.
I know. Hi, Karen.
And she said, my aunt was profoundly close to my grandmother. When Granny died, she simply couldn't imagine a day without her. So she decided she would get to heaven right away. And she presented her goal down to recording the songs for her funeral and telling everyone she was going to keep her mother company. And she just willed herself to die.
Don't you think? You know, she willed herself to die.
Yeah.
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 And I think that's what happened with Carrie Fisher and Debbie. You know, I look at that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Cindy, you may remember some good childhood friends of mine. He had a heart attack, and on the day of the funeral, when his wife was getting ready to go to the funeral, she had a heart attack at front of her mirror.
Wow.
She didn't want to live. She couldn't live without him. They were that close. And and it wasn't a codependency thing. They were just bound that close together. Karen said that her nephew also decided to take the way.
Yeah, Darlene just said Whitney Houston's daughter. Remember Whitney Houston, and then her daughter was found in a bathtub. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And someone else wrote in and said that she's had suicidal thoughts as a young mom, as well. I have a sister who has had debilitating depression episodes, and I have a daughter who is almost 30 who is suffering terribly from an eating disorder, depression, and anxiety, and has frequent suicidal thoughts as a possible way out from her daily struggle that feels like hell on earth. And she's just she didn't know where to go. And Kathy has an interesting take on this. She said the suicide rate has gone up. It was expected with all the energies coming into the earth plane. In fact, she said Cryon predicted that, or she thinks that Cryon, they or he or whatever you call them, did. But as she says, on the other hand, we need to improve how we treat mental health and the health system in general. And boy, you are right about that, Kathy.
Well, and the whole idea of free will. Oh, I got my sound back. Thank you.
Good.
You know, in other words, I mean, people having, free will. And on some level, who are we to say that that's choice is not okay. I mean, and again,
Yeah.
I'm not being insensitive to anyone who has lost someone through suicide. Please hear me. If any of you hear me well, because Abraham, the Hicks, they say all death is suicide on some level, that on some level there is choice in there, even if, it's just that suicide is a deliberate act and it's obvious that there's choice there. But according to, certain spiritual teachers, the same is whether it's car accident or illness or whatever it is. And, it's almost like, and this is just, this just came to me. It's almost like we make so much of this from the standpoint of, yes, the people that are left are angry and hurt and lonely for that person. But again, the free will piece is still somehow needing to be honored. I mean, to be able at least to hopefully get to that place. And again, it's easy for me to say, so believe me, that's why I'm saying it, because I don't know that I would say it if I had been directly affected by this.
Well, at the soul level, yeah, it's always a choice,
right?
No matter how you go, and
right, exactly.
You know what? As far as being angry with the person who decides to check out, I'm still angry at my sister. And my oldest brother, they died from cancer.
Yeah. So would you be more angry at them if they committed suicide? Do you think? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't. And when I say that, I mean in their circumstances, because both of them, their cancers were horrible. If they committed suicide in that conditions, I would not be more angry at all. Right. Now, if I didn't understand the circumstances, if they had hidden circumstances, then yeah, I might be.
And did you read the question, Shivani, about from Deb? And the how is a bigger question. If we could find out how to get away from the pain, would we even be having this conversation? She says we would be, but would we be? And for me, it was divine guidance. Okay, there's a reason that I've experienced this. There's a reason that that I didn't actually die. There's something else for me to do. And my mother was right. I want to live. So I'm going to put one foot in front of the other and you guide me and I'll go.
Yeah, because, I that's right. On some level, you created being found.
I guess so.
You did, because you could have just as easily not been found, and then you wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be doing this show. All kinds of other things wouldn't have happened. Wait, no, but I mean, so on some level, you made the decision, and yet God, the universe, in other words, it was like, no, it wasn't your time, but you were still, I don't know, I mean, because to me, it takes courage to live and it takes courage to die. Whether it's dying by illness, dying by suicide, dying by car accident, sometimes getting out of bed can take tremendous courage when there is depression or when there is that heaviness of, so again, your soul was obviously, lurking there going, nope, she's not done yet. We're gonna, and because it could have just have been, so it could have just as easily been that you hadn't been found.
Yeah, I heard from a friend recently. She has cancer. She's working with it, very, very conscious. And she told me how she was in the bathtub without really doing much herself. She found herself basically on the other side. Like she could feel her whole life force, going out, and she was in such bliss. And then she was asked, like she had a decision to make. She had a choice. Do you want to come back or do you want to go? And the choice was actually, you can go. You've had a full life, and she chose to come back. And the cool thing is she's going, all the little things we're sweating about, totally irrelevant. Whether you're, and she talks about it now, yeah, whether you're vegetarian or you eat meat or you do this, you know, all the stuff we think is just so vitally important is not. And I think there is a choice. We always have choice. Yeah.
You know, it occurs to me that my cat Band-Aid committed suicide. And, you know, we went for a walk, our normal nightly walk. I take my cats every night. And I remember he stopped in the cul-de-sac and laid down, and he's never done that before. He always follows me everywhere. So he just laid down and he wouldn't come. And I never saw him again. And it was one of those snapshot moments where I knew something was going on, but I just wasn't tuned in completely to his mindset. He had cancer. And I believe that he just laid there and let the owl get him. That's what I always imagine happened is, you know, we have an owl that lives in back of us. And I think that he just kind of laid down and said, okay, I'm done. And I really believe that's what happened. So this is even in our animal kingdom.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Except when animals are ill, we allow them to leave.
Yeah. Well, I just euthanized my dog. Yeah. But I tell you what, a few weeks before, and he had cancer, I remember like 2 weeks before his death, we went for our normal walk, and very sparsely populated street, right? And occasional cars. And he was on the opposite side of the road, which was unusual, and he's off lead, right? He's always by my side. And he tried to bolt towards the middle of the street as the car was passing. And I had enough presence of mind, and I just managed to grab his collar. But I thought, oh my God, was that his way? It was like, I'm just running, towards the car and that's it. And I was like, no, I don't really want to see you that way. But like I thought of it afterwards, was such an unusual behavior. Yeah. And when it was time, to be euthanized, he was so compliant. Yeah, like he was compliant. He knew. Yeah. And was like, because I think animals obviously are much more connected to spirit. I think they're pure spirit, and
they're not judging it. They're just
it's like, hey, I'm done. Let me be free. Let me go back into joy. Yeah. I'm just taking off my my fur coat.
Yeah.
Okay, other comments and stories. And Lorelei, did you share yet the ones that we had on our Facebook page?
Oh, the one.
We have a private page, everybody, which is the Soul View, where we can have conversations with each other. And we really want people to get in there and talk back and forth to each other. That's what it's there for. And just search for it and ask to be a member, and we will approve. And also, please join us on our YouTube channel as well, and that is Faris will put the link below the video in Facebook, so you can get there. And
we have Sarah Waters says, hi Cindy, suicidal thoughts were with me prior to birth, as my mother had deep depression and attempted to abort me whilst pregnant with me. Thus it's in my DNA. There have been times when the roller coaster has hit bottom and I've wanted out, yet by crying myself to sleep and asking for help, I'm now aware that my wonderful angelic friends have soothed me to sleep and I've awoken to a new day. I do have a suicidal plan, which I hatched when my beloved practice disappeared, and it's there should I ever need it. And it's now 20 years ago when this happened and I'm still here. I feel it's unlikely to happen. I do understand that people feel so desperately alone. Yeah, I just want to say something, and there's one other one to read. That's another thing I've been reading lately, articles on loneliness, because a lot of that is comes from people feel that they're all alone and there's nobody there and there's no support. So that's coming out too. People who isolate and, you know, feel alone. I mean, that, you know, privacy is one thing and needing a lot of alone time. Lord knows I do. And sometimes it, you know, it is isolation and it's not as healthy as it could be. But again, pulling back from the world, you know, again, depending on how we're wired, certain of us need more of that than others. So, so the other one is from Jessie, which says, hello, everyone. I'm new to this group, but feel compelled to share my story here. It is one of a mother going through a deep depression and then recovering with the help of some spiritual tools and a great new network of mentors and friends, many of them found right here on Facebook. So happy to hear that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like again, I know quite a bit about depression and anxiety because I actually worked for a mental health institution as a yoga teacher and also ran workshops on the art of happiness. So I know depression is not simple. It's complicated, could have all sorts of reasons, right? The one reason that in this like it was a live-in facility that I worked in. One reason that was addressed is, you know, the depression quite often is unfinished stuff, basically. You know, like they're like the woman who said, well, my mother wanted to abort me when, you know, when I was in her womb. That sort of stuff actually can be healed. Or, you know, it's like on one, like I said, there are many different other reasons, but yeah, when you look at depression, what comes up for me, it's like you're sitting on a spring, right? And you're pressing down what actually wants to come up for healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quite often, like in the clinic, when people worked on their stuff and their resentment and, you know, whatever, the trauma they've experienced, and when they came in harmony with that and in acceptance and found their self-worth back, the depression actually lifted.
Well, and they talk about anger turned inward, you know, too. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so everything's depressed. And when that's released, the depression can lift. But something you said before, Faris, is true in terms of, you know, we all can get depressed and then depression, you know, where it is like a syndrome or whatever. But what I'm so grateful for and brought me to tears when I read some of these stories, I thought, look at what's been created from this. People, at least that feel so alone and isolated, perhaps now have an outlet or, you know, again, some of the shame around it or whatever that is can perhaps dissipate. So that's the banner that I'm holding around this, that they signed up to do this for all of us on some level. Yes, they had their personal life and their personal story, but beyond that, from a soul view, they are in service to a lot of people.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. And, you know, you asked earlier, Faris, about the people that are non-celebrities. Their soul contracts would be with the people that are around them. But for somebody that the spotlight is on, it is for the whole of us. Yeah. You know, and it is an important role. It's a big role, bigger than the ones that they had in creating a designer line or being a star. You know, it's a much bigger role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've hit a psychic nerve here today.
Psychic nerve. I like that.
We've got so many comments. I would encourage people to join the private group, and I just put the link in there under the comments for the Facebook Live video. The link to the private group, and bring your comments over there, because there's no way we can get to all of them.
Right. And there's so many great comments, and we might do, Faris, can we do like a screen cap, or can we get those and share them? Or if you could copy and paste them over there, that would be wonderful. And because we really want to have the conversation over there.
I hesitate to do that because I don't want to do it unless I know I've got the permission of the people who are
Okay.
Worth putting them
So
in.
we'll just leave it up to y'all to
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
the Facebook group. It is a private group, and that URL, Faris, if someone doesn't have the link below them, it is,
Do you have it there?
I'm looking for it. Okay, it's facebook.com/groups/Soulview. So that's
And
how you
Soul
get
View is
there.
one word.
Yes,
Mhm.
Soulview is one word, and just go to the group, and we will come in, and I'll make sure that you're a real person, because we've had some people that that were not real people come in there try to come in. So we do look at that, but please do let us know that you want to share your story
And keep it real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lorelei, can you explain again the service? Whoop, it just jumped. Hang on. Can you explain again the service to the whole related to isolation and aloneness that you just shared? I didn't quite catch the connection.
Yeah, the connection is, I believe, that both Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, not minimizing their own personal lives in the body and whatever was going on for each of them, but from a soul perspective, they're in service because they've brought this out, like this conversation that we're having and so many people are having now, being able to share that. To me, their act, the act that they undertook, is in service to so many people because it's opened the door for a healthy conversation about that. And I'm sure there are people that may have never talked about an incident in their life before with themselves or a family member. And I just believe, again, that this is going to bring people together. And of course, the overlay of the fact that the timing of it is so perfect to be unearthing things that, as I said before, would have been shunned, put in the closet, and to find the health in that, to be able to experience the transformation, the magic, and the transmutation in that. I just think there are going to be lots of reverberations that are going to be healing for people, people coming out and maybe asking for resources, or, somebody saying, I really do feel alone. Well, maybe feeling a connection in this kind of situation. So I hope that makes more sense. And certainly feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. I'm happy to have that conversation with you as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Shivani, you want to read a few more, and then we're running a little over.
But so Kathy says, which I agree with, folks don't always realize that alcohol is a depressant, and that certain meds will cause depression too. And Mary said the antidepressants have depression as a side effect. How helpful is that?
I know. And suicidal thoughts, I always wonder about that. It's like all the possible side effects are almost worse than whatever the malady is that they're taking it. I mean, it's crazy.
I think about that, and I could have had brain damage. There's a professional speaker that actually tried to commit suicide, and he blew part of his face off, and he actually speaks now on where he was, that place he was. Wow. And how he has now learned to love himself, even though he's disfigured. And he talks, I believe, primarily to teenagers.
Wow. Boy, is that power. See, that's what I'm saying. Things like that, the power in that, and the power in the shadow of it, the power in the shunning of it, in the, no, we don't talk about that. So I just think what's going to come from this is going to have the potential to be very healing for a lot of people.
Faris, Kimberly says, I don't see the link to the private group in Faris's email message, though I do see the Facebook group.
Yeah, it's not in the email, but I will put it in the replay email.
Yes.
Okay, good on you.
Yeah, we need to have it in all of our emails. We need to be sure. And also our link, Faris, to our YouTube channel, so we can,
yes,
we want to open this up as much as possible. These are important conversations. This is, we have to talk about these things from a different level, from the soul perspective. We feel driven to do this, and all three of us are volunteering our time, though we have our other businesses as well, but we're volunteering our time to do this, to to help get the message out about these very important topics. So please join us and send this to your friend. If you know your friends, you know, you have someone in your life that's going through a very difficult time, please invite them to be part of this conversation. Get the link from our YouTube channel or from our Facebook page and ask them to watch this today, because we want to help you however we can. That's why we're here. And as Lorelei would say, spoken like a Pisces.
Exactly. We're here to help. I mean, exactly. Help is a Pisces thing.
Yeah.
Pisces, Virgo. And you have Virgo too, so you come by them both very honestly.
That's right. So any final comments, everyone?
Well, I just want to make just a couple of comments about, we're in a new moon energy for the next 3 days. So whatever's on your heart, ask yourself, what is it that I desire in my life now? What's not working? If you don't know what you want, look at what's not working. And then you make a wish out of that. And if you want to know how to make new moon wishes, reach out on our group, and I'm happy to share information. It's not rocket science, but again, you know, you can do this at any time. Intentions, goals, I call them new moon wishes, to be planted at this time. So we're in the planting time now. So to me, that's very exciting that we've had this conversation in this new energy, and in the energy of the rebirth of the child, the rebirth of joy, the rebirth of innocence. So out of all of this, to be able to rebirth innocence out of this conversation, you know, no matter what one's experience with the topic of suicide has been, to be able to come back to the innocence of the soul.
Beautiful. Shivani.
Yeah, look, for me, look, I've just been through the death of my dog. And for those of you who have animals, I would say it's exactly the same. There's no difference whether a human dies or a dog dies. And
Or a cat.
it might sound counterintuitive, but if you are in the position that you've just had a suicide in your family, I would say you literally need to allow your heart to break, because that was a process that I've just undergone, and it's not for the faint-hearted, I'll be honest. But once that actually happens, the healing can happen for you. And keep in mind that the person who is gone is actually happy. This person is joyful, back into light, back into love. And I think the healing is literally come back to yourself, back to your heart, let it break. I think that's the answer. And through that, something different will happen.
It's broken open, in other words.
Yeah.
Right? Broken open,
Yeah. Because I am getting so many gifts that my dog is giving me, and I'm now looking at the good stuff that happened, you know, the good times. So I would also suggest, think about the amazing things that you did with the beloved that has left.
Yeah.
Cool. Two things. One, I wanted to mention a lady named Wendy Terry has written us, and she's a medium who's been contacted by many spirits who chose suicide. And told her what the higher purpose was. She has a book on Amazon called, she didn't capitalize it, so I have to look for it here. The Different Levels of Death and Suicide. I don't know anything about the book other than it sounds really very interesting. So Wendy, thank you for letting us know about that. That's The Different Levels of Death and Suicide, and it's on Amazon. If you have depression, talk about it. That's the best thing I can say.
Totally.
And just be aware that some people may not understand. Screw them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about the fact that you have depression.
Yeah.
Not don't force yourself to talk to people when you don't want to.
Yes.
I have experienced this with Faris. We've been in business together 25 years. And when Faris is in a depressed state, he just says, got to check out. And he does. And I just cover the bases and, why he's gone. And then he heals much, much faster. He comes back from that dark nights of the soul, however many nights, but it's less time. It used to be weeks, and now it's days, because he allows himself that opportunity to just go into that darkness for a period of time. And when he comes out, he's his funny, jovial self again, feeling good and strong.
Well,
Yeah, if you had a broken arm, you wouldn't deny that you've got a broken arm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
You would admit it. So if you have depression, you just have depression.
It's the judgment of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the self-judgment that is
Yes.
the worst.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. The self-judgment. Totally. Yeah. That it's wrong. So you're already feeling like shit, and then it's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that like doubles that, as opposed to, wow, I'm really, and so I appreciate that you said talk about it,
And
because
so I'm going to bed for a week. Okay. No, I mean, I'm not right now, but
one of my clients,
Yeah, but that's what he says, is I gotta just,
check out.
one of my clients, the way she says it is, I'm going silent,
Yeah.
yeah,
which,
Yeah.
I like that. I love that.
yeah, I like it too.
Well, I want to tell everyone that, first of all, I want to thank you for being here for this very important conversation. And we've gone a little over our time tonight, but I really think that this deserves the time for that. And you all, our hearts go out to everyone that has either been through this, somebody that has killed themselves, or if you have had these thoughts, and know that we are here for you. That's what we do. We're a community, and we come together and we talk about these things, and we love and support each other. So please reach out to us, on Facebook and the private group. That's really where I suggest, is a private group. Mm-hmm. And, you can email us at the support information that Faris puts in on the page as well. We're here for you. I also want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe and hit that bell so that you get notified every time we upload new videos. And we're going to be, I've got to get past the surgery and all the stuff going on right now, but we're going to be doing some individual stuff too, because like right now, Shivani has a program that she is doing, and that is getting ready to start. She's got some people that have already signed up, and if you're interested, contact Shivani and she will tell you all about it. Shivani, why don't you go ahead and just tell everybody about it real quick, because we each have our other things that we do, and then we come together for a conversation here. So Shivani, you want to go ahead and share with us?
Sure. Look, I focus on helping women with their soul's calling. I do have some enlightened men as well, but I'm focusing on women. And basically, if you find yourself in a business that you've started 10 years ago and that doesn't feel aligned anymore, or if you're in a job that you hate and you get the impulse that you really need to do your divine gifts, but you're scared, you don't know how to start, you might be uncertain about whether this is ego or your soul or your intuition speaking, I can certainly help you, because I'm working with the Akashic Records, and which is an energetic database all about the soul, who you are at soul level, what are your gifts, your karma. And I offer a free strategy call where we can basically explore where are you at, what's stopping you, what would you like, and the steps that will help you towards the new goal. So Shivani@shivani.com is my website, and you'll find me. Shivani with a Y.
And Cindy, remember that next week is on Thursday, the solstice. You may want to mention that.
Yes, and that was the other thing I was going to bring up, is we, instead of Wednesday next week, Thursday is the solstice, the
Summer
the
solstice.
summer solstice, and my granddaughter's birthday. She'll be 25, and and
That's right. She's born on the
yeah.
summer solstice, right?
Yeah, that's right. She was. And so we're going to talk about how you can celebrate that. So, or we're going to do some celebration. So come and celebrate with us. And we'll send out information. Again, it's not Wednesday. We're doing Thursday instead. And we'll send out information. And also we have a program, another program that Lorelei and I are going to be doing together. I talk about, and that's what I'm here talking about in Kansas City, is I'm going to be talking about personality type and temperament. And of course, that's my expertise. And Lorelei's is the astrology. She's a spiritual astrologer. And I get, every time I speak on type and temperament, someone asks, how does this align with astrology? We're going to explore it in this workshop and find out. So be looking for information on that. And we're going to make it very affordable for everybody to do this workshop. So just check your email and we'll be letting everybody know. And so I'm looking forward to that. We've been having this conversation for a few years now, and now we're going to really dive deep into it. It'll be fun. So until next time, everyone, I thank you so much for being here again. Much love to you, and much love to you, Faris, Shivani, and Lorelei. And until next time, namaste.
Love to do.
And I send y'all light.